Smoking Glass Hour believes in giving back and giving credit where credit is due. Our number one goal is to make a difference. The music you hear on the Smoking Glass Hour comes from Purple Planet Music. They can be found at www.purple-planet.com. Go check them out. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Beer and Glass. We are honored to have you as a guest tonight and want to thank each of you for your faithful support. Without further delay, allow me to introduce to you Mr. Beer and Glass. Mr. Glass, take it away.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. We are now broadcasting live. Before we get off into the show, we just want to make sure that everybody is doing A-OK out there. And before we even get off into the broadcast, let me say thanks to Administrative Services Direct for managing the entire Smoking Glass Hour live broadcast each and every night, and all of our social media management. So hats off to Administrative Services Direct. You can check them out at www.thesmokingglasshour.com. You can look at one of the tabs, and it will tell you everything that Administrative Services Direct has to offer. If you're looking for good virtual assistance, check out Administrative Services Direct. Again, they manage all of the advertising, social media management, and anything that's involved with the Smoking Glass Hour and all of its affiliates. Now, we want to make sure that everybody know that we are out there right now broadcasting live on Blog Talk Radio, along with Spreaker.com, along with www.thesmokingglasshour.com. Tonight's topic is going to be fighting for the importance of public education in 2015. If you remember, on Monday night, we talked about the importance of education to some degree. And we also talked about Caldwell Parish having a renewal millage that's coming up, and we'll get off into that a little bit later in the broadcast. I'm kind of running not behind, but a little bit less than what I would normally be, because I had a public school body meeting tonight and had to rush many miles, I would say, just to get in and be ready and equipped to broadcast. So we're going to continue to maneuver on. Make sure that we give everybody out there the opportunity to make it home. I'm not sure if any of the administrative staff that works for Caldwell Parish School System will be calling in tonight, but I did indicate to them that as I did in the regular broadcast, I paid tribute to our outgoing Superintendent Carla Tillett, excuse me, and I will also do it tonight for all of our loyal listeners. And it's because of her that many people had the opportunity to receive benefits that they otherwise would not have received. Again, on Monday night, like I said, I believe we talked about the voucher systems and all of those things. But before I go any further, I want to ask a question once again. And from now on until I feel like this message has resonated, I'm going to make sure that I strongly suggest it and talk about it periodically throughout the broadcast. Now, here's the question once again. Did you know that only a handful of corporations, 6 of them to be exact, control over 90% of the media? Once again, did you know that only a handful of corporations, 6 of them to be exact, controls over 90% of the media? Now, what does that mean? That means to me, nearly everything that you and I hear on the radio, or what we read in the news and see on television, I'm talking about corporations like General Electric. I'm talking about corporations like News Corp. Let's look at Disney. How about Viacom, Time Warner, and CBS? You see, fake grassroots movements funded by all of these political affiliates corporations, or other special interest group, here's their number one goal. Unlike our number one goal at the Smoking Glass Hour, our message is clear. Our number one goal is to make a difference. But these corporations, their number one difference is this, is to very effectively manipulate and distort media messages. If you look at the San Bernardino situation, before any information could get out, media outlets already blaming this, blaming that, not even giving the investigation the time to flourish, not even giving the investigation time to get at least some of the facts in. So here we are. We're asking that you continue to support, if you will, if you please, support the Smoking Glass Hour, where we bring real news that happens in real communities. Again, the Smoking Glass Hour is brought to you by Administrative Services Direct. You can check them out at www.thesmokingglasshour.com. Now, just want to put out a few thoughts that I had today as I was going through today and thinking about this, thinking about that, thinking about how life is. I knew the night was coming up with the meeting. I had to put some thoughts down on paper, and I'll read those thoughts to you at some point in time. Let me make this lit thought and see how you feel about it. People often say that those on government assistance should be tested for drugs because they abuse the system, and that's fine. I believe that that's fine. I disagree with it, but that's fine. So if they want to say that, with that being said, here's my position. What about all the rich, the politicians, Wall Street executives, and the likes being tested for abuse and fraud? Because look at it this way. Politicians, Wall Street executives, and the likes, they receive far greater amounts of money than the poor and those who they say are manipulating and abusing the system. That was my morning thought. As I hovered on through the day, I thought about this lunch break thought, which I often think about when I'm just sitting around doing little odds and ends. Now, if you have someone out there that you're questioning their friendship, or you feel like the friendship is a little rocky, well, there are several things that people can do. But here was my suggestion in a conversation with one of my good friends, Pastor Arthur Grant. He and I was talking today. So he was telling me about some preacher was talking about genealogy and all this, that, and other. And he took him to the Bible and showed him where this was at, where that was at, so forth and so on. I said, Pastor, let me throw this at you, and you can take it however you want it, and you can deal with it however you want. I said, Pastor, let me ask you this. Agree with a person who you call a friend. Okay, agree with a person that you call a friend 100 times, even when you know that that person is 100% absolutely wrong. Then take that same person that you agreed with 100 times, even though knowing that they were 100% wrong. Take that person and disagree with them one time when you know that you are absolutely right, and see if you still call that person your friend. My point is this. Everybody says that they want honesty. Everybody says that they want to hear honesty. But when the smoke clears and the dust settles, most people are running from the truth. Most people are afraid of the truth. And the truth shall set you free. Now, when we face the inevitable dark days of life, you and I, must choose how we will respond. Will we, you and I, allow ourselves to sink even more deeply into our own sadness? Or will we do the difficult work of pulling ourselves out. We bring light to the dark days of life by turning first to God for those who believe, and then to trust family members and our friends. Not those friends who you agree with and then you decide to disagree with and they walk away. I'm talking about real friends. I'm talking about those that you can be as honest as you can. And they understand that you are just trying to do your very best and lead and guide them in the right direction. Then, at this point, we must go to work, solving the problems that confront us on a daily basis. When we do that, the clouds will eventually part and the sun will eventually shine once more upon our souls. My other thought today was this, and I'm often thinking about a lot of things in a lot of areas. My mind is always wandering on this side, on that side. I can be on the East Coast 1 minute, and the next second I can be on the West Coast. That's just how I flow. Here's that other thought. And I think some of you out there who are listening, all up in Kentucky, all in South Carolina, all in North Carolina, all the way up in New York, Baltimore, Maryland, Atlanta, Georgia, Mississippi, Little Rock, Arkansas, California, D.C. area, North Dakota, South Louisiana, Central Louisiana, Western Louisiana, all of those places that are out there listening right now. I believe that we all can agree on this one. And the reason why I say that we all can agree on it, because I've seen people from all walks of life talk about this particular situation in a different way. What bothers me is the fact that many able bodies get to stay in bed as long as they choose and never have to work. Many of us, like you and I, have to get up, go to work, make ends meet just to survive. Many deserve to stay at home. They've paid their debts. Many, quote, ain't paid a nickel, but living a good life. A good life off of you and I. What we should agree on this is here. Race shouldn't be divided on this issue, right? Because we all know that somebody is doing this, and we all know that somebody is doing something that we disagree with. Once again, we're broadcasting live with the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. We're looking at about 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I know that the administrator out there is probably not prepared for this one, but I'll give her time to get prepared. This is how this virtual assistance works. We're in two different parts of the state, two different parts of the country, and we're still flowing 100% smooth. I'm going to pause just briefly. If she'll run just one commercial, there's something that I need to do right quick. So if you don't mind, stay tuned, stay on the line, and we'll be right back. We're going to pause briefly and just run one commercial. Thanks.
Does Stokey Stokes sell cars that are high mileage with no warranty? No. Stokey Stokes. If my credit is bad, should I just give up?
What?
What if I have a cosigner? What if I still owe money on the car? What if I have a pay for a trade and or money down? Can I come in?
Okay.
Go down and see Anthony Stokey Stokes at Steve Landers Kia at 4600 South University and let him make you a deal. He's the deal maker. He said that if you're thinking about going to another dealership for a better deal, Anthony Stokey Stokes at Steve Landers Kia said, Call him today at 501-952-2868, 501-952-2868, or go online at Steve Landers Kia dealership in Little Rock, Arkansas. Put Anthony Stokes as your salesperson, or go by the 4600 South University Steve Landers Kia location. Anthony Stokey Stokes, the deal maker.
We are back broadcasting live with the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Tonight we're talking fighting for the importance of public education in 2015. If you're out there in the Little Rock, Arkansas area, check out Anthony Stokes at Landers Automotive in Little Rock, Arkansas. Anthony is out there selling cars, making deals. So if you're out there in that area, I know Sean Gales is out there in that area. He is the actual drummer for Too Short. His dad, Howard Gales, played with Sly in the Family Stones. Larry Graham, rather. His cousin, Ramon Gooden, was the producer for Digital Underground. His other cousin is Eric E.Q. Young, that plays for the very famous band Confunction. And I know that all of those out there who are listening have heard some sounds from Confunction. Also, before I get off into the text, if you're looking during the day, you're not busy and you have something that's not going on, or you don't have anything going on, rather. Let me get it because my tongue is tied. We ask that you go out and listen to those relaxing sounds that we have playing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on WMAD 24-hour global radio. And that stands for We Make a Difference. You can check it out once again at www.thesmokingglasshour.com. Now, the question that many have asked, okay, what have you got against private school vouchers? And I talked about this briefly the other night. It may be your rich friend who's able to send their child to private school. It may be your wealthy neighbor or your local politician who is demanding during the conversation that you will get better results. But the fact still remains, only if you knew what the facts were. Now, we know that fact number one, there's no link between vouchers and gains in student achievement. But listen to the media, who very effectively manipulate and distort the message. They will tell you something different. We also know and talked about Monday night that vouchers undermine accountability for public school funds. But if you listen to mainstream media, they and special interest group very effectively manipulate and distort the media message. If we look once again, we know that vouchers do not reduce public education costs. Actually, they increase the cost by requiring you, the taxpayer, to fund two school systems, one public and one private. Again, special interest groups, along with mainstream media, very effectively manipulate and distort the media message. We know, once again, that public school systems has always had to earn its mark. So the question tonight is this: why we must keep fighting for the importance of public education for our children, our future, our community, and our economy. You see, I personally believe that a strong public educational system is essential to the individual and collective well-being of our country and its people, and to the development of an informed and engaged citizenry, without which no democracy can exist and flourish. Once again, we know that mainstream media number one goal is to effectively manipulate and distort the message. But our message is clear, that a strong universal system of public education is the foundation of the American middle class and is vital to the survival of the United States as a broadly middle class society in the global economy. But once again, we know that people of all walks of life will tell you something different. We know that people of all walks of life will sell you a bill of BS. We know that people of all walks of life would love to see public education fail. The guarantee of access to a free and quality public education, it should be a right accorded to every child in this country. Now, what we must do is secure that guarantee should be a goal and a value that unites all Americans and is supported by our public policies and policymakers at every level. And you see, when you look at the voucher systems, they undermine certain things. Private schools, to be exact, have almost complete autonomy with regards to how they operate. Public ed, you have to give account for every dollar that's spent. Private systems can do a lot of things. They can have the autonomy, the complete autonomy of who they teach, what they teach, how they teach, and if at all, they measure student achievement and how they manage their finances and what they are required to disclose to parents and public. So if you're sending your money to a private institution, the chances are you may not have all of the disclosed information that you would at a public school system. Now, let's make sure that everybody understands. My goal is not to say that private systems work. My goal is not to say that private systems don't work. My goal is to make sure that we understand that we must keep fighting for the importance of public education for our children, for our economy, for our communities, and last but not least, for our future. At this time in the history of our country, all those who support public education, as the labor movement has historically done, who believe in its centrality to our national vitality and are committed to strengthening this institution, so every child in every corner of the country, guess what, has access to a great education, should come together to affirm this commitment. My job tonight is to bring all of these people together to affirm this commitment, and we must continue to go out and fight for the importance of public education. Why? Because we have a millage renewal that's coming up. And before the broadcast is over with, I'm going to tell you specifically and directly what's involved in this renewal millage. Now, we must realize that the way it's put on the ballot has absolutely nothing to do with how the school system decide that it's on there. So when you look at the ballot, it will not say renewal of the millage. It will say something else like continuation or whatever the case may be. Our message needs to be clear. Our goal is to make sure that the taxpayer understand that they too must join and keep the fight for the importance of public education. Now, a public educational system in all of its components. Let's look at pre-K through 12th grade. And guess what? We have a Head Start. We have a state-of-the-art preschool. We have some of the most progressing grades from kindergarten through 12th right here, right now. They can be strong, vital, and productive only with the broad support, the commitment, and participation of all sectors of our community. That means industrial board. That means the Lions Club. That means the library club. That means the police bureau. That means the sheriff's office. That means everybody who's involved. That means the church house, the schoolhouse. That means employees, because guess what? Somebody will be affected. Okay, there's a cause and effect. There's going to be good and there's going to be bad. Damage can be controlled or there will be damage. Those who have dedicated their careers, such as the individual that I will be honoring before this broadcast is over with. Those who have dedicated their careers, not just her, but many others, and lives to providing a public education to our children, guess what? Should be recognized for their contribution, their support, and included in our efforts to continuously improve our educational system and to ensure that the students in every public school have equal opportunity and access to highly qualified teachers, staff, and instructional resources. Now, for those who may be saying that public school systems are failing, well, guess what? I think that's backward thinking. I think that's stinking thinking. Why? Because the facts that I'll present tonight will show you a little different than what you are hearing. Now, the media sometimes can be gossip. The media sometimes can be those who disagree, those who dislike, those who try to separate the message from the messenger. We know that that is absolutely insane. We know that the complex and considerable challenges facing public education, it requires a public school environment that fosters in considerable amounts of things. We know that it fosters thoughtful solutions. Guess what? Shared responsibilities, consideration of proven strategies and programs, and public educational policies that help ensure access to the excellent education every child deserves. Now, all of these things that I'm talking about, when I talk about the former superintendent or the outgoing superintendent, she exhibited all of those characteristics. She had what it took. She has what it takes. However, sometimes in small towns, things don't always go as planned. So before we go any further, we're looking at about 8:28 p.m. Central Standard Time. I must be on a time schedule to make sure that all of these commercials are being aired the way that they are set up in the system, because if I don't shut up, they're going to automatically go. Let me make sure. When you listen to Sirius Radio and all of those other radio stations out there in Monroe and all across the country, guess what? The same thing that they are doing, we're doing the same identical thing, except we don't have a call letter. The call letter does not mean anything, because what's going to happen is this. Within the next 5 or 10 years, exactly what it is that we're doing now will supersede mainstream radio. If you think I'm lying, look at your cars when you get them. They have access to the computer. They have access to the internet. Well, you have access to the internet right now. So before we go any further, we're going to pause briefly and run a few commercials, and stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Does Stokey Stokes sell cars that are high mileage with no warranty? No. Stokey Stokes. If my credit is bad, should I just give up?
What?
What if I have a cosigner? What if I still owe money on the car? What if I have a paid for trade and or money down? Can I come in?
Okay.
Go down and see Anthony Stokey Stokes at Steve Landers Kia at 4600 South University and let him make you a deal. He's the deal maker. He said that if you're thinking about going to another dealership for a better deal, Anthony Stokey Stokes at Steve Landers Kia said, call him today at 501-952-2868, 501-952-2868, or go online at Steve Landers Kia dealership in Little Rock, Arkansas. Put Anthony Stokes as your salesperson, or go by the 4600 South University Steve Landers Kia location. Anthony Stokey Stokes, the deal maker.
We can be most effective when we are engaged in the political process, and there's no time like the present. One of our main goals is effective advocacy through active participation from you. Those who stand for nothing will fall for anything. Our efforts to keep you engaged and informed as to the importance of current events happening locally and abroad started 2 years ago. Our number one goal is to make a difference. We need you. Join us at the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass.
We are back broadcasting live with the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Tonight we're talking about fighting for the importance of public education in 2015. Before we go any further, I know that on Saturday, I believe December the 5th of 2015, the annual Christmas parade will take place. We also want to make sure that everybody out there listening send up prayers for San Bernardino, California. We know that there were some tragic things that happened there yesterday. Back to the subject at hand. For the past several years, we as individual taxpayers, as individuals who are involved, as those who are proactive and those who are reactive, we have been living through the most severe recession since the Great Depression, which has affected itself public education, not just through cuts to core programs, but through job losses that destabilize student families, cuts to other critical services that the communities depend on, stress that puts at the social fabric that really unites us. Rather than fostering an environment that allows for thoughtful, collaborative solutions, so-called reformers focused instead on imposing unproven policies and programs that shake the foundation of our schools, neighborhoods, and our communities. Here's the deal. Public education is a public responsibility and must be a public trust. We know that public school systems work when we, the people, become involved. Our shared pain, rather than divide us, must instead become the impetus, which is the force or the energy with which a body moves, for our shared efforts to force a national, a state, and a local commitment to program and policies designed to do this, designed to disinvest in public education and other vital public services to ensure opportunities for lifelong learning. Exclusionary approaches, simplistic slogan, and punitive strategies that substitute for real solutions, such as the mass removal of both instructional and non-instructional personnel for low-performing schools without regard to the investment that have not been made in those schools. Also, distract from the important work needed to strengthen public education, divide our communities, and undermine public education, which is the institution that has the potential and purpose of creating equal opportunity for all of our children. Because we know specifically that if you go to a public school system, it's hard to be excluded. If you go to a private institution, they determine who they want to serve based on religion, finances, and other different areas that they look at. Formal, prior test scores, those who have disabilities or whatever the case may be. So when we look at public education, our goal is to make sure that we let people know that our fight for the importance of public education in 2015 should be a commitment. When we look at one of the other situations that's out there, which was mainly, I believe it was the AFL-CIO, they are united in opposing short-sighted arguments that focuses on affixing blame rather than finding solutions to the problems that confront our schools in this time of economic crisis. Here we are. The labor movement opposes any effort to pit public sector and private sector workers against each other. And if you notice, that oftentimes happens when you have those who leave public school systems and retire. They go to these private or parochial school systems, and they have the intention of degrading, talking down, distorting facts about public school system. The labor movement understands, you should understand, that until the private sector workers' right to organize and bargain collectively is restored, no public sector worker is economically secure. And we also must understand that attacks on public sector workers are led by those whose goal is to weaken and impoverish all workers. And it all goes back to the media, which has the special interest group that very effectively manipulate and distort the media message. We also know, I believe, that the AFL-CIO will support all efforts to show that working with labor is a part of the solution rather than a part of the problem. They also said that they will redouble their efforts to make common cause with communities and will act not just one day or 1 week, but every day to mobilize support for the programs and policies critical to building strong and vibrant educational systems and communities throughout America. Now, we know that those people who are part of those groups are individuals themselves, just like you and just like I. So here we are. What role can you play? What role as a taxpayer can you play in Caldwell Parish? What role can you play as a taxpayer in the state of Louisiana? What role as a taxpayer can you play in the United States of America? Well, one is you can get up and get out. You can get involved. You can do whatever it is that you want to do, but you cannot remain idle. Sitting idle only allows the media to beat you at what you're doing and what you're best at doing, which is getting out and knowing your own community. You know your community better than anybody else. So when we look at Caldwell Parish, we look at a 3-year trend of data for school performance scores. Okay, here we are. And these are the types of facts, excuse me, that validates why we should support and renew the millage in Caldwell Parish for the Caldwell Parish school system. We know that things must get better. If they don't get better, here's what's going to happen. And I'll tell you. But the main reason why you should strongly consider supporting the millage. Caldwell Parish has been named as a 2015 Louisiana Believes Tops Gain School in the state. Caldwell Parish High School ranks 5th in Louisiana 2015 Most Improved High Schools with a school performance score growth of 21.7. Now, I didn't say 5th in the district. I didn't say 5th in a region. I said 5th in the state for Most Improved High School with a school performance score growth of 21.7. They also rank 5th in Louisiana for Most Improved Graduation Rate in 2015. That means the number of students who enter 9th grade and successfully graduate within 4 years. See, because not too long ago, the dropout rate in this particular parish was at or above 50%, which means if you had 180 students to start out in the 9th grade, only 90 of those students were projected and were actually walking across the stage. We had at one time I believe it was 89% black male dropout rate, which means this: 79, 75, one of them, give or take a few plus or minus, which means that if 10 black males were to start out in the 9th grade, only 3 were projected and or were graduating high school. Now, you just heard the facts of 2015, ranked 5th in Louisiana, not the district, not the region, for Most Improved Graduation Rate in 2015. Now, look at this, ranked 7th in Louisiana for most improved strength of diploma index in 2015, which is the number of students graduating with advanced placement credits, jump start credentials, and or dual enrollment credits. This one right here is even more impressive. Ranks as the 3rd highest school performance scores in Northeast Louisiana region, falling only behind Sterlington High School that has 110.4, which is an A, and Vidalia School 98.3, which is a B, which means that our school district is a B district. Not a C, not a D, not a F. Now, when you look at all of this information that has been provided, which there's more, you have to give credit to whom credit is due. If the President of the United States allows things to happen and get the economy down to 4%, or whatever the case may be, anything that's positive, guess what? That president gets the credit. If there's anything that's negative, that president has to accept that negative, because you cannot separate the message from the messenger. Okay, when we look at the renewal itself, this, make sure you understand, this is not a new tax. It may be on the ballot as a continuation or whatever the case may be. We'll get you the facts. But it is still a renewal, which means you are already paying this right now. So if you are able to pay it now, it's not going to hurt. And also on the other side, on one of the other millages, Caldwell Parish School System is, if not mistaken, according to facts or sources that I've gotten information from on the board, has indicated that for the first time in any system within the state, Caldwell Parish lowered individual millages for residents in Caldwell Parish, which means if you're paying a millage, yours was lowered over half, if I'm not, or 10 mills or something to that effect. If you need more information, you can contact the school superintendent, John Gillette, at 649-3870, area code 318-649-3870, or you can check with any board member, David May, Jody Kenny, myself, Baron Glass, C.R. Martin, Jack McKithen, Gary Councils, or Dr. John Robinson, board president. So we want to make sure that any information that you may be misguided on, you can get the fact. Here it is. It shall read something like this, hopefully. In a good faith effort, okay, the Caldwell Parish School Board has dropped the bond millage for renovation of schools 10 mills over the last 2 years to help you, the citizen, with property taxes. Now, the 8.9 mills from this renewal would generate approximately $500,000 a year. The revenue is split 50-50 between general fund and maintenance and operation. General fund revenue is spent on 5 teacher salaries and benefits. Maintenance operations spends the remainder of the revenue to help fund school maintenance and repair. Guess what? Here's where the rubber meets the road. It also pays maintenance personnel salaries and benefits. So here's the negative effect of what could happen. If this millage is not renewed, this $500,000 has to be made up somewhere. Now, will it be 10 teachers? Will it be 10 support personnel workers? Or will it be 5 faculty members or 5 support workers? The point I'm trying to make is this, is that there will have to be cuts made. Not to try to threaten. I'm just giving the facts as to how this may be. Because, see, once again, mainstream media goal would be to give you this information and not give you the dissecting part of what's going on. I'm dissecting and letting you know that here's the deal. If it passes, we can continue to move on with all of these test scores, which I've given you. We can continue to do the things that we've been doing. We can continue to try to work from a B school to an A school. We can continue to try to keep highly qualified teachers in the classroom. We can continue to purchase as much of the things that are necessary in 2015 to be a competitive school district within the state of Louisiana. Here's the deal. I personally, for 22, 23 years, would put our school system up against any school system in the state based on what we receive, the amount of funds we receive, and we will perform at or better than most. So, am I bragging? Absolutely not. I'm trying to stress points that will make you see and allow you to see that it is very important, it is imperative that you get involved. It is absolutely necessary for you to get involved. It is absolutely necessary because here's the deal. It may not affect you today, but guess what? You got a grandkid, a will. You will have a great-grandchild. So eventually the cuts that would have to be made eventually shall be felt by somebody. The only thing we can do is continue to disclose as much information as you want to let you see that the monies are being spent. We're not top-heavy under administration or in administration. We don't have too much going on in other places because, see, I find oftentimes people fail to understand that certain components of the money can only be spent on certain things. In other words, if we go out there and sell a 16th section of land, it cannot be used for salaries. It has to be used for structural options like buildings, refurbishing, or purchasing, or something to that nature. The school teachers' salaries are involved with sales tax and things of that nature. Years ago, we passed a sales tax, a 1-cent sales tax for teacher raises. But what we did, we also allowed support workers to be involved. So we wanted to make sure that everybody had the same opportunity or equal opportunity to receive a raise. We even increased, put a step raise in. So what I'm trying to do is let you understand that information you're hearing now is from the horse's mouth. It's not being heard from a third-party individual. It's being heard from an individual who have been dealing with this for a long time. Not that I know more than anybody else. That's not the issue. The issue is that my job and my goal is to make sure that the message is clear. The millage renewal is a must. Remember, we're looking at $500,000 a year. If it does not pass, cuts will have to be made. Where the cuts will be made at, we have no earthly idea. We have a projection of what will, but nobody knows, and we don't want to even consider cuts. So when we look at all of this information that has been provided, it had to start somewhere. It has to be given credit to somebody. And that somebody is the outgoing superintendent, Carla Tillett. I was able to have her to come to the meeting tonight because her last final day is the 31st of this month. My mother always told me that speak, and when you speak, do it from the heart. Give flowers while the blood is running and the body is warm. Because after the casket closes and it goes in the ground, anything that you say has no relevance. So tonight, on this particular broadcast, fighting for the importance of public education in 2015. It is dedicated in honor and respect to outgoing Superintendent Carla Tillett. I would describe her as this: a passionate, dedicated, and a leader is the way I would put this. One who had the commitment to public education long before we knew anything about her. Even before we knew that she was going to be the superintendent of the Caldwell Parish school system. I personally myself cannot express what she has done for this educational system in words, and how she has stressed the importance for public education to this parish and to this community. From the bottom of my heart, and I told her this earlier, I thank her for all that she has done to try and change the way people think about education for the better. And as a result of the thought for a better education is why the test scores are the way they are. It's because of the leadership. My mother, once again, like I said, has always taught me personally to speak from the heart. And when speaking from the heart, some may not like what is said because they don't understand your heart. But you speak, son, anyway. This journey of what seems like 1,000 miles started 4 years ago when we selected Miss Tillett. From the very moment of her selection, she was met with unfair resistance by some who never gave her a chance out the gate. But guess what? She prevailed anyway. Test scores says it. She had an open door policy. And because of dislike and regressive mentality, it was stated that her door was not open to some. But guess what? She still prevailed. One common thing that most of us who has supported her in her efforts would say that she took the system from good and made it better. And if more time was given, it would have been great. But the standard of progress has been set for John Gillette, the now elected superintendent, even though times have been hard. The past 4 years that she has spent here is now part of her legacy. She made some great choices, great budget decisions, and her loyalty and her commitment to the educational well-being of every student in Caldwell Parish. Not some students, not the rich student, not the disabled student, but all students. I think, myself personally, the best way to judge a superintendent's success is to see how the district was functioning before she came and compare to the way it was when she's leaving. And I just gave you the results. I just gave you the results. Now, if we look at Miss Tillett's time here for the past 4 years, student achievements has increased and standards have been raised. We're ranked number 3, number 5, and number 7. I think that speaks for itself. Even with all the budget constraints that we face as a public school entity, once again, I think it speaks for itself. Those who didn't support her might disagree. And guess what? They are entitled to do just that. However, only a fool would argue with facts. She has become well known across the state and valued among her colleagues for her expertise in professional development for teachers and administrators, and her depth of knowledge has made her a subject matter expert in curriculum and instruction. And that's in my opinion. Not from what I've heard, but what I've seen. She never lost focus as to why she was in the business of educating. And her work ethics and her performance and the outcome proved that she was always here for the right reason. And that right reason was for the children. I, Baron Glass, host of the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass, am pleased to have had the opportunity to thank her not just one time publicly, but now broadcasting live on the Smoking Glass Hour for her remarkable leadership and dedication to excellence in education. Here's the kicker. Our children, our families, and our entire community have benefited immensely from her work, even if the haters or the naysayers want to disagree with the facts or refuse to acknowledge what she has done with her team. From me to you is a lasting legacy, and for those who support you, we would like to wish her the very best in her retirement. Finally, we know that there's a such term as the millennials. There was a such term as the baby boomers, who most are basically going on. But the millennials would say this. In the words of the newer generation, call it to let you rock, you rock, you rock. Thanks for allowing us, for having you the past 4 years, coming here, changing an entire system, creating a pathway for success, even under the constraints and the restriction that you went up against. You prevailed. You prevail. Paul says in the Bible this: patience is the power to endure whatever comes with good temper. You've been listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Thanks for tuning in tonight to Fighting for the Importance of Public Education in 2015. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend, we're on the move in 2015. You can check us out on Twitter. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Google+, Twitter, Tumblr rather, WordPress, and all of those other social media outlets that's out there. Our message is clear. Our number one goal is to make a difference. If you're out there doing something in the community you would like to be recognized, check us out right at www.thesmokingglasshour.com. You can log on, look at the entire webpage. Everything about us is going on. All of these services are brought directly to you by Administrative Services Direct. This show that's being aired tonight, brought to you by Administrative Services Direct. Those commercials that you heard, brought directly to you by Administrative Services Direct. If you'd like to host a show, we're working with one of the teachers right here from the school system, trying to help her get 2 tablets for the classroom. Guess what? Thanks to thanks to Sonic rather, they're going to be donating 100 cards so the students and the teacher can go out and sell those cards. And as a result of selling those cards, they will be able to go out and purchase, hopefully both tablets, if not at least one. The card only costs $5. And guess what? Every time you go eat at Sonic, if I'm not mistaken, you're going to get half off. So support those teachers down at Kelly Elementary in Kelly, Louisiana. I can't think of the teacher's name. It's Miss Cindy. Check her out. And they are doing a wonderful job there. Caldwell Parish has its problems, but Caldwell Parish is on the move in 2015. Thanks for listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass tonight, once again, fighting for the importance of public education. Have a great night.